Hello, great online learners. Welcome to my channel at Science Guru Exam Drills. The Science Guru is on your screen again to take you through another revision session in the National Common Entrance Examination 2026 predicted or specimen paper. So these are likely questions you would come across in the NCEE exams if you pay rapt attention to the details. Make sure you stay tuned to all the illustration, all the analogies, all the examples, and all the citations, and you are able to do that by grabbing your pen and your notepad to take note of salient and key or important points. Are you ready to dive in? Okay, let's dive in. So a continuation of the series I left off in the last episode. We're going to go through question 21 all the way to 40 in this particular series. 21 reads, the organ in the human body that filters waste from the blood is the dash. What can best fill in this blank space from the available options? So option A, liver. Option B, lungs. Option C, kidney. Option D, stomach. Okay, now let's begin to analyze them one after the other so that we can sort them. And you must do this in a very quick succession. But for this class, for analogy purposes, I will take time to explain them and give illustrations and examples. So A, liver. Liver is an organ in the body of humans and other mammals. The liver is majorly an organ that detoxifies the system from poisonous or toxic substances that we take in through the foods and drinks we consume on a daily basis. The lung is part of the respiratory system, which helps in the inhalation and exhalation of gases. Of course, human beings take in air. The lungs filters out the oxygen for use, while carbon dioxide is given off as byproduct. So option A is not the correct answer here. Option B is not the correct answer. Then option C, kidney. Take a look at the question again. The organ in the human body that filters waste from the blood is the dash. So kidney is the correct answer to this question because the kidney is a paired organ that is bean shaped and it does the job of filtering the blood through filtration processes with the help of the nephron, with the help of the glomerulus and other parts of the excretory system to remove waste or toxic substances from the blood, and in return it reabsorbs water for reuse in the body. The stomach, we know, is the organ of digestion in the digestive system or the gastrointestinal tract, which you also call the alimentary canal. The stomach is an organ that serves as a temporary pouch for the further digestion or breaking down of food into simpler molecules by the action of enzymes through metabolism. So the correct answer here is option C. Option A, B, and D are distractors. Is that taken? Yes, you can pause the video and do more analysis and research to find out why it is so. Then question 22. Which type of rock is formed from cooled lava? Now, in the process of rock formation is carried out by nature in different processes. Rock formation occurs through different types of formation. We call it the different stages or the different types of rock formation. Of course, we have three major types of rocks. We have the igneous rock, we have sedimentary rocks, and the metamorphic rock. But what leads to the formation of rocks? There is the effect of heat and pressure in the earth crust that causes substances like water, like ash, and other debris to heat up and they begin to melt and boil to a point where magma is formed. So magma is the molten liquid that is formed after the effect of heat and pressure in the earth crust, leading to tectonic processes or earthquake that causes crevices or cracks in the tectonic plates or the plates of the earth crust. So magma finds its way through these cracks or crevices in that hot molten state, and as it does that, it forces its way to the surface of the earth. Now, magma that is retained within the earth crust that couldn't find its way to the surface is called the intrusive type of rock formation. Intrusive because the magma could not find its way out, but it was able to move through some crevices and solidify to form a hard core. While magma that forces its way to the surface of the earth and is deposited at any point on land is called lava. And when lava comes in contact with air through aeration, it cools and solidifies into a rock, and that rock is called igneous rock. So the question says, which type of rock is formed from cooled lava? The cooled lava is the extrusive form of rock formation because the magma was able to find its way to the surface of the earth in an extrusive or exuding form, pushing its way out to the surface. While intrusive, the magma remains retained in the earth's crust. So sedimentary rock, option A, is not the answer here because sedimentary rocks are formed from the accumulation of sediments or debris over a long period of time and compressed by the pressure and the effect of heat to form a rock which has layers and some other features or characteristics. Metamorphic rock, on the other hand, is a rock that is formed when either igneous rock or sedimentary rocks metamorphoses or changes in form due to the impact of weathering, heat, pressure, and other environmental impacts, thereby changing its form to a new form called metamorphic rock, from the word metamorphosis, changing from one form to another. Metamorphose, changing from one form to another. Igneous rock is the correct answer here because that is the rock that is formed when magma forces its way to the surface of the earth and the lava is now cooled. When it is still under the earth crust in its molten state, it is called magma. When it forces its way to the surface of the earth and gets deposited, then over time cools off due to the effect of air or aeration, it is now called lava. In that state, it's called lava. So that's the difference. Magma is retained under the earth crust, finds its way to the surface of the earth, and you call it lava. Limestone, we know, is a calcium triazocarbonate compound, CaCO3. It is what is used to make cement and other hardcore materials. So limestone is not the correct option for this answer. So you go with option C, igneous rock. Is that taking, learners? Alright, I'm taking my time to explain in detail so that you can have the clear reason or distinction why it is igneous rock aside other distractors that were provided. Moving on, question 23. The instrument used to measure the mass of an object is the dash. Is it thermometer? Option B, barometer. C, balance scale. D, ruler. We know that thermometer is used to measure temperature, so it's not the answer here, in degrees Celsius or degrees centigrade or degrees Fahrenheit or Kelvin, whichever unit is being used per time. Then barometer, we know is used to measure air pressure, so that is not the correct answer. We're looking for what is used to measure the mass of an object. Balance scale is the correct option here because that is what is used to measure the mass of objects in either grams or kilograms, as the case may be. Then in other climes like the US, they measure in pounds and so on. Ruler is used to measure distance from one point to another. It could be from point A to point B or point B to point C and so on. So you now know why the answer is balance scale. Okay, note that in your notepad. 24. A rainbow is formed because light undergoes dash. Light travels in a straight line. In the rectilinear propagation of light, it states that light travels in a straight line, and experiments have shown that by carrying out experiments under rectilinear propagation. The word linear means moving in a straight line, and light travels at a distance of 3 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. That's the fastest traveling element in nature. The second fastest traveling element after light is sound. So take note of that as a science student. It will really help as you move up the academic ladder. A rainbow is formed because light undergoes dash. A, reflection. Reflection is when an image is cast on a surface due to the effect of light falling on it. So reflection is not the answer here. Refraction and dispersion. Refraction is the bending of light. When light passes through an object and the object tends to change its direction, which we call the bending of light, is called refraction. And dispersion is when light is channeled into different spectrum in different direction. So the correct answer here is this, but let me analyze option C. Option C is absorption. When objects which we call opaque materials, they are black or dark in coloration. They don't allow light to pass through them. They rather absorb light. So absorption in the principle of light talks about when light falls on an object that is opaque and it is absorbed and not allowed to reflect. Then diffraction is also when light falls on the surface and moves in different or varying direction at different angles. So absorption is not the correct answer here. Diffraction is not the correct answer from the analysis I just gave. So option B is the option to go for here. So note that down and pause the video to do your own research as well. Question 25 reads, which of the following is not a planet in our solar system? The solar system is a system of the sun and all the planets revolving and rotating around it. You all know at this point from research that the solar system consists of 8 planets, not the previous 9 planets we know about or were taught, because in 2006, Pluto was scientifically reclassified as a dwarf planet because of 2 major reasons. One, it couldn't complete its orbit that leads to seasonal changes or variation. Then 2, it was so small that it couldn't stay in its orbit and it continually goes out of its orbit, and other reasons surrounding it. Now, option A says Pluto, option B says Neptune, option C Uranus, option D Mercury. From my analysis, can you pick out the option that is not a planet in our solar system? Recall I said we currently have 8 planets. Previously, it was 9 planets when Pluto was part of it. We use the acronym MVE, MJS, and UN, and UNP before, when Pluto was still a planet. But right now, Pluto has been reclassified in 2006 not to be a planet anymore, but a dwarf planet. So we currently have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. A good mnemonic you can use to remember the order of the solar system is the mnemonic, my very energetic mother just served us noodles. So if you take out the first letters from my very energetic mother just served us noodles, you get these planets. But if you can't remember that mnemonic, you can use this acronym to remember the order of the solar system, with the exception of Pluto as a dwarf planet. So the answer here is Pluto, a dwarf planet. Neptune is a planet. Uranus is a planet. Mercury is still classified as a full planet. Is that taken? All right, take note of that. Let's move. The process of breathing in is called dash. A, exhalation, B, inhalation, C, transpiration, D, perspiration. Breathe in. What is that called? Exhalation is when you breathe out. Inhalation is the correct answer here. Transpiration is the process through which plant loses excess water from their body so that they avoid turgidity or swelling up. Then perspiration in humans is when we sweat or perspirate profusely due to the effect of heat and temperature. So these are not the correct options, but the correct option is inhalation. All right, I hope that helps. Which of these materials is attracted to a magnet? This is under magnetism and the laws of magnets in physics. A, plastic, B, wood, C, iron, D, rubber. Now let's analyze it. Plastic is a material from petroleum oil, right? So it will not be attracted to a magnet because it's a non-magnetic material. Remember, there are magnetic materials and non-magnetic materials. Magnetic materials, as the name implies, are materials or objects that can be attracted by the force of a magnet, while non-magnetic materials, on the other hand, cannot be attracted by the force of magnetism or by magnetic force, and that happens around the magnetic force field in the core of the magnet. Now go to option B, wood. Wood is a material from plants. It is non-magnetic in nature. Iron is the supposed answer to this question because iron contains material or elements that gets attracted easily to a magnetic force. Rubber is from plants. It is a non-magnetic material. So I hope you understand the analysis around this question. Question 28. The Earth completes one rotation on its axis in approximately dash. A, 24 hours, B, 12 hours, C, 365 days, D, 7 days. Now, don't be quick to select the answer. Take note of the keyword. The Earth completes one rotation on its axis. in approximately how many hours. And you can also convert to minutes, you can convert to other units of time. So A, 24 hours, B, 12 hours, C, 365 days, which is equal to 1 year, 7 days, which is equal to 1 week. So what is the answer? The correct answer is option A, in 24 hours, which makes 1 day. So Earth's rotation causes day and night, and day and night occurs in a space of 24 hours, which is 12 hours daytime, 12 hours night time. The other answers here are distractors. As I always say, they are meant to distract your thinking process, so that if you're not careful, you pick one of them as the option, and that would mean failing the question. Question 29. Which vitamin is produced by the skin when exposed to sunlight? A, vitamin A, B, vitamin B, C, vitamin C, D, vitamin D. Vitamin A is not the correct answer. Vitamin B is not the answer. Vitamin C, mostly from fruits, not the answer. The correct answer is option D, vitamin D. So that's exposure to sunlight between sunrise and say 9 to 10 a.m. is healthy and it produces vitamin D. But anything beyond 10 a.m. and above, the sun begins to get extremely harsh on the skin and can lead to sunburn or, if possible, skin cancer. So avoid it from after 10 a.m. All right. 30. The push or pull on an object is called dash. A, energy, B, power, C, force, D, work. What is the push and pull on an object? We call that particular force the pushing and pulling force on an object that causes an object to either move or to change its shape, to change its direction, and so on and so forth. So is it energy? No. Energy is the ability to do work. It's measured in joules. Then power is the rate of doing work. It's not the correct answer here. Force is the correct answer, option C, because force can be defined as the push or pull on an object. Work is also measured in joules, just like energy, so they share the same similarities. Then question 31. Which of the following is a vector quantity? Now the key word here is vector. We have vector quantities and scalar quantities. In physics, vector quantities are quantities that have both magnitude and direction. Magnitude has to do with their size. It has to do with their shape. Then direction, how they move from point A to point B in a specific direction, mostly in a translational manner. Scalar quantity, on the other hand, are quantities that have only magnitude but no direction. So using that analogy, is it option A, mass? Is it option B, temperature? Is it option C, speed? Is it option D, velocity? Mass is a scalar quantity. Temperature is measured in degrees centigrade, is a scalar quantity. Speed can be defined as the rate of distance over time. Then velocity is defined as the rate of speed over time. So what's the correct answer? Speed is not the option here, but velocity has both magnitude and direction. So you go for velocity. Question 32 reads, the process by which plants lose water through their leaves is dash. I explained this in my illustration earlier when I was talking about transpiration and other processes in the environment. So A, photosynthesis is not the answer here. This is how plants, particularly green plants, manufacture their own food using sunlight and other inorganic materials. Transpiration is the correct answer here. But let me still analyze. Absorption is when the root hairs of plants absorb water and nutrients into the plant body, and this is facilitated by the xylem tissue and later transmitted upwards and downward by the phloem tissues. Then condensation is the process where gaseous molecules or water vapor is converted into liquid form and falls back to the earth as precipitation. So that's not the option here. Then question 33 says, which of the following is the correct food chain? Now, food chain and food webs occur in the ecosystem. This is under ecological studies. When you study ecology, ecology simply has to do with the study of the interactions in the physical environment between plants, animals, and other non-living things in the environment. So A, we have hawk, snake, grass, grasshopper. There's an order to which this feeding relationship goes on, and it goes on in a linear fashion or linear manner. So is it from grass, grasshopper, frog, snake to hawk, or will grasshopper feed on frog, snake feed on grasshopper, or hawk feeds on snake? Or option D, snake feeds on grass, grasshopper feeds on snake, frog feeds on grasshopper. So I can strike the odd one out from this order already, because in a food chain it will always start with the producers. The producers are plants, or the green plants that manufacture their own food. Then they are fed upon by other consumers, such as primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and quaternary consumers. So snake cannot feed on hawk in the order, even though hawks hunt snakes most of the time to feed on them. So this order is incorrect. Now take a look at this option B. Grass is a plant. So grass as a producer started this food chain. Then grasshopper feeds on grass, frog feeds on grasshopper, snake feeds on frog, hawk feeds on snake. So this is the correct order, option B. Then option C, just for analysis, grasshopper after frog does not go well, because grasshopper does not feed on frog. Snake does not feed directly on grasshopper, and vice versa. So this is not the option. Grass to snake. Snakes don't feed on grass. Snakes are carnivores that feeds on other animals, so that does not go. That's why we went for option B. Grass to grasshopper, grasshopper to frog, frog to snake, snake to hawk. So this is the order. The hawk feeds on snake, snake feeds on frog, then the frog feeds on grasshopper, then grasshopper feeds on grass. That is the reverse order if you're going from behind. If you're going from ascending order, grass to grasshopper all the way to the hawk. I hope that is clear. 34. Loud sounds can cause damage to the dash. Is it to the eyes, B, nose, C, ears, D, skin? Look at the keyword. Loud sound can cause damage to which organ of the body? Which organ is for hearing? Because sound has to do with hearing. So the correct option is option C, the ears. So this is not the option. Nose is for smelling, skin is for feeling. Alright, question 35. An electric circuit that has a break or gap will dash. An electric circuit, this is under circuitry in physics, that has a break or gap. That's when the switch is disconnected. What will be the outcome? A, produce more electricity. B, glow brighter. C, not allow current to flow. D, increase resistance. So remember, this break or gap tells us that the switch is not on, so it will not allow current to flow. Other options are distractors. Question 36. Which of the following is an example of a chemical change? Remember, there are chemical change and there are temporary changes. A, dissolving salt in water. B, cutting paper. C, burning of petrol. D, bending of iron rod. Look at the question example of a chemical change. This is a permanent change. A change you cannot reverse to the original state or form is what we are talking about here. Now, dissolving salt in water, we can reverse this using evaporation method of separation technique. Cutting paper, if I cut paper, I can glue or sellotape it back, so it's not a chemical change. Burning of petrol is the chemical reaction here, because petrol, when combusted in vehicles or other machines, cannot be regained. But bending of iron can be straightened with other tools. Question 37. The correct boiling point of water at standard pressure, this is the focus, standard pressure is dash. A, 0 degrees centigrade. B, 50 degrees centigrade. C, 100 degrees centigrade. D, 37 degrees centigrade or Celsius. So at which temperature does water boil? Water boils at 100 degrees centigrade at standard temperature and pressure without impurities. So that boiling point is always at 100 degrees centigrade or Celsius. Is that taken? Alright. Question 38. Air pollution can be reduced by dash. So which method here will help us to reduce air pollution? There are 4 types of pollution: water pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, land or soil pollution. So is it by burning more fossil fuels? No, this will continue to pollute the atmosphere with smoke and other carbon monoxide particles. Using catalytic converters in vehicles. Let's compare option C. Increasing industrial smoke emissions. No. Option D, cutting down more trees. Trees helps us to regulate our environment, and it helps to generate more oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis to help plants and animals have pure and healthy breathing mechanisms and systems in place. So this is not the option. The correct answer here is option B, using catalytic converters in vehicles. So this will help to reduce emissions from vehicles during combustion through their exhaust pipes. Question 39. Which of the following best describes an ecosystem? A group of the same species living together, all living and non-living things interacting in an area, a habitat with only animals, the atmosphere of the earth. This is not. A group of same species living together is not sufficient. The answer is option B, all living and non-living things interacting in an ecosystem. So that's what makes it an ecosystem. Number 40, the process of separating a mixture of sand and water using a porous material is called dash. A, evaporation, B, distillation, C, filtration, D, decantation. The answer is filtration. Others are distractors. Evaporation is when we heat up the liquid substance and the molecules gains heat, becomes lighter and escapes to the atmosphere in form of water vapor or steam. Then distillation is when we heat two liquid substances of close boiling point, for instance, water and alcohol. Alcohol boils at 78 degrees centigrade while water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. So when you begin to heat a mixture of alcohol that boils at 78 degrees centigrade and water that boils at 100 degrees centigrade, alcohol will escape first into the Liebig condenser and condense into the empty container at that temperature, while water, before it gets to the 100 degrees centigrade, will be retained inside the original conical flask or round bottom flask in the experimental setup for distillation process. Then decantation is when you separate a mixture of an insoluble solid in a liquid by simply pouring out the liquid into another empty container and leaving behind the solid in the beaker or the container that had the mixture. So filtration is the correct option to go for to separate a mixture of sand and water. The porous material is called a filter paper in this case, a filter paper. So if you go to the science laboratory, particularly the chemistry lab, you're going to see the Wattman filter paper that we use all the time to separate such mixtures. Have yourself a great day. The Science Guru is out.